The Iraqi dinar has once again captured global attention as new developments across Iraq's financial landscape raise important questions about stability, direction, and long-term economic strategy. Over the past several days, subtle yet meaningful movements in the local currency market have triggered renewed discussion among analysts, investors, and economic observers worldwide. While the official exchange rate maintained by the Central Bank of Iraq remains steady on paper, real-world market behavior suggests deeper dynamics at play beneath the surface. These changes are not random fluctuations driven by speculation alone. They reflect a complex interaction between monetary policy enforcement, dollar liquidity management, regional trade pressure, and growing institutional reforms. For those watching from the United States and other global markets, it is essential to understand that the Iraqi dinar does not operate under a free-floating system. Instead, it functions within a controlled monetary framework where every adjustment is carefully monitored and strategically managed. This makes even small shifts in value significant indicators of broader economic intent. Iraq is currently navigating a transitional phase balancing internal economic reforms, compliance with international financial standards, and public confidence in its banking system. The government and central bank are working to tighten oversight, regulate currency flows, and reinforce monetary discipline, all while avoiding instability that could disrupt daily commerce. As a result, the dinar's movement today reflects a recalibration process rather than sudden volatility. Online speculation often exaggerates these developments, but the reality is far more measured and calculated. What we are witnessing is a controlled economic recalibration designed to strengthen long-term credibility rather than trigger immediate gains. This moment represents a critical point where policy, perception, and performance intersect. Understanding this context is essential for anyone seeking clarity amid the noise. The real story is not about overnight revaluation or dramatic currency shifts, but about structural adjustments taking place behind the scenes, adjustments that will shape Iraq's financial future for years to come. One of the most important forces shaping the Iraqi dinar's current movement is the Central Bank of Iraq's ongoing effort to modernize and regulate the country's financial system. Over the past year, authorities have intensified oversight on dollar transfers, cross-border transactions, and internal banking operations to align Iraq more closely with international financial compliance standards. These measures were not introduced overnight. They are part of a broader strategy to reduce currency manipulation, control capital flight, and rebuild confidence in the official banking sector. As a result, temporary pressure has emerged in local markets as demand for physical dollars increased while supply channels were restructured. This adjustment phase has often been misunderstood as weakness, when in reality it represents a tightening process meant to strengthen long-term stability. The central bank has repeatedly emphasized its commitment to maintaining a stable exchange rate while transitioning toward more transparent and traceable financial systems. For global observers, particularly in the United States, this shift is significant because it signals Iraq's intention to operate within internationally recognized financial frameworks. Oil revenues continue to provide strong backing for the national economy, giving policymakers the flexibility to manage short-term fluctuations without triggering systemic risk. However, reforming a cash-heavy economy takes time, and moments of pressure are an expected part of that transformation. The dinar's recent movements reflect this recalibration rather than a collapse or uncontrolled devaluation. Each regulatory adjustment, banking reform, and compliance measure contributes to a larger structural realignment aimed at restoring confidence and improving long-term economic resilience. When viewed through this lens, the current environment becomes less about uncertainty and more about transition. The real focus is not on daily rate changes, but on the foundation being built beneath them, one designed to support sustainable growth, reduce financial leakage, and strengthen Iraq's position within the global economic system. Beyond policy and regulation, another powerful factor shaping the current movement of the Iraqi dinar is confidence in both domestic and international. Currency strength is not determined by numbers alone. It is driven by perception, trust, and expectations about the future. In recent months, Iraqi authorities have focused heavily on restoring public confidence through financial transparency, digital transformation, and tighter monitoring of currency flows. These efforts aim to reduce reliance on informal cash markets and guide transactions into regulated banking channels. As digital payment systems expand and compliance standards improve, the financial ecosystem becomes more resilient and less vulnerable to sudden shocks. This shift represents a fundamental change in how Iraq manages its monetary environment. For investors and observers abroad, particularly in the United States, this transition signals a move toward institutional maturity rather than short-term currency manipulation. Confidence grows when systems become predictable, traceable, and accountable, and those qualities are now becoming more visible across Iraq's financial infrastructure. At the same time, authorities remain cautious, understanding that rapid change can create instability if not carefully managed. This is why progress appears measured rather than dramatic. Each step is calculated to preserve equilibrium while gradually strengthening trust in the system. Market psychology plays a powerful role here. When businesses and citizens believe in stability, they are less likely to rush toward foreign currencies, reinforcing the strength of the local unit. The dinar's current behavior reflects this psychological balance, not a surge, not a collapse, but a controlled evolution. What we are witnessing is a currency learning to operate under modern financial expectations, supported by institutional reform rather than speculation. This phase may lack dramatic headlines, but it represents one of the most critical stages in Iraq's economic development. Long-term confidence is built quietly through consistency, discipline, and strategic planning, and that process is now clearly underway. As Iraq continues navigating this period of economic transition, the broader global environment plays an increasingly influential role in shaping outcomes. International energy markets, geopolitical developments, and shifting monetary policies across major economies all interact with Iraq's domestic reforms. Oil revenues remain a critical pillar supporting national stability, providing both liquidity and strategic leverage during times of adjustment. However, Iraq's long-term vision extends beyond reliance on natural resources alone. The current approach reflects a calculated effort to balance fiscal strength with institutional discipline, ensuring that economic growth is supported by structure rather than volatility. Financial authorities are focused on maintaining equilibrium, preventing sudden shocks, while gradually aligning with global financial norms. This balance is especially important as global markets face uncertainty driven by inflation cycles, interest rate adjustments, and evolving trade dynamics. In this environment, Iraq's measured pace becomes a strategic advantage rather than a weakness. Stability rather than speed defines sustainable progress. The controlled behavior of the dinar reflects this philosophy, signaling that policy decisions are being guided by long-term resilience rather than short-term reaction. Observers often mistake stability for stagnation, yet in reality, it represents careful stewardship during a sensitive phase of reform. Institutions are strengthening their frameworks, data transparency is improving, and coordination between financial entities is becoming more refined. These developments may not generate dramatic headlines, but they build the foundation for durable confidence. As Iraq positions itself within the global financial system, the emphasis remains on credibility, consistency, and measured growth. This phase is not about dramatic currency shifts, but about constructing an environment where stability becomes the norm and economic momentum can develop organically over time. The direction is deliberate, the pace intentional, and the long-term outlook increasingly structured around sustainability rather than speculation. As this period of economic adjustment continues, the broader message surrounding the Iraqi dinar becomes increasingly clear. Long-term stability is being built through discipline, structure, and strategic patience. Rather than chasing rapid appreciation or speculative momentum, Iraq's financial leadership appears focused on establishing a foundation capable of supporting sustainable growth for decades to come. This approach reflects an understanding that true economic strength is not measured by sudden currency movements, but by consistency, credibility, and institutional trust. Each policy decision, regulatory adjustment, and technological upgrade contributes to an ecosystem designed to function predictably under both regional and global pressures. For international observers and investors, this signals a shift from uncertainty toward calculated confidence. The narrative is no longer about short-term reactions, but about long-term positioning within the global financial system. As digital systems mature and governance structures strengthen, Iraq's economy becomes more resilient to external shocks and speculative cycles. This evolution encourages confidence not only among foreign stakeholders, but also within the domestic population, reinforcing trust in national institutions and financial processes. The future of the dinar, therefore, is tied less to sudden announcements and more to sustained performance. Progress is measured in consistency, transparency, and adaptability. While the pace may appear slow to those expecting immediate transformation, it reflects a deliberate strategy designed to ensure durability rather than volatility. The broader message is clear. Stability is being built layer by layer, with patience and precision. As these foundations continue to solidify, the Iraqi dinar stands positioned not as a symbol of uncertainty, but as a representation of a nation steadily shaping its economic future through control, confidence, and long-term vision.